Now we're recording to our live custom stream. Man, I cannot believe it. We're on episode 175. Rob Condella back with us again. Last time you were here, I think it was episode 95. Is that right, Rob?
That sounds about right. Episode 95, about a year ago. So a
Man,
lot has happened in that last year. So it'll be exciting to talk through it a little bit.
I am really excited tonight. This is so incredible. I mean, I'm so glad that we're able to talk for half an hour before the show starts because, I got this preview of what Rob's going to talk about, and you guys don't know yet, but it's absolutely amazing. Well, anyways, welcome everybody. My name is Sean Symons, PPG Grandpa, over here at PPG Grandpa's Paramotor Podcast, clearproptv.com and paratalk.org. Tonight we got Rob Condella. He has been traveling the United States, living the dream. And in just a moment, we're going to hear his dream. But real quick, let's go ahead and chat with our panel members real quick to introduce you. We got Scuba Steve. Man, Scuba Steve, I'm digging the hair, man. I haven't seen you in a couple weeks. I guess you got a haircut.
I had to. It was getting too long, man. Had to trim it down a little bit so I could see. You don't want any kind of flight dangers with hair blowing in front of your eyes.
Never even thought about that. I've been letting my hair grow out. So, so how you been, Scuba Steve?
Good. I mean, the weather here has been there's been no flying. We've had almost every single day between 16 to 20 mile an hour winds with 26 to 30 mile an hour gusts. There's no flying right now.
All I'm going to say is send it, Scuba Steve.
I'm not sending that. No.
It sounds like he just needs a smaller glider and he'll be fine.
There you go. Smaller glider. Get up there and get whipped around. That's pretty cool. But anyway, you do a podcast on Fridays. What is that all about, Scuba Steve?
Yeah, Friday, I usually talk about vaping stuff, sometimes paramotor stuff. If you want to check out my channel, just go to paramotordude.com. I'm on from 8 to 10 Eastern every Friday night. So come check it out.
Absolutely. I wish I was able to, but I was on a cruise ship. We're having way too much fun to even think about.
Heck yeah.
Steve. I'm sorry, man. I should have thought about you instead of having fun on this cruise ship.
Right.
Glad that you're here, buddy. Good to see you again.
All right.
We also got Jim from Canada, the only guy I know that has maple syrup smelling money and sent down a cloud of smoke from Canada to New York and across the United States. How you doing, big buddy?
I'm doing well, thank you.
So you are our official sponsor over here at ClearProp TV, PPG Grandpa's Paramotor Podcast over at carepp.com. Tell us a little bit about what you do and what we can get from you. And I heard that I'm worth about 10%.
You betcha. You mentioned PPG Grandpa, and you'll get 10% off anything you purchase for printing at our shop. And graphic design, the whole caboodle, you get it, 10% off.
I love it. So you do the graphic design too? So if I wanted a logo or something, you do that? Or is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, for sure. Or,
really? When did you start that?
When did I start that? 20 years ago?
Why haven't I not even thought about that? Why haven't I not known about that? I thought it was just decals and stuff.
Well, who designs them? Who makes them?
I don't know. I thought that we sent in the design. I didn't know that you made your own logos and stuff for it. That's really cool, man.
Sure, I have to usually set everything up for people because they don't know what they want or they don't have what they want. So we set it up for them and then print it and send it out to them. Some people send me their designs, but not very many.
So maple syrup smelling designs. I love this. This is great. It's maplesyrupsmellingdesigns.com, right?
I've got to find that solution that Ryan showed me. He said he got me some like essential oil or something that I can put on things that smells like maple syrup.
Wow, that is so cool. Well, can't wait to smell some decals and some custom-made logos over at carepp.com. Have you been able to do any flying since you started that fire up there?
No, I haven't. I've been actually, I guess I did. I did a little bit of flying. I went to the butt fan dust off, and that was during bad apples, and I was able to Boro, a paramotor. I flew a Maverick Atom 80, which was very interesting. 3,500 feet takeoff, and I didn't really like that because I wasn't able to go up very fast. It was
You'll be fine.
quite the experience.
That was like
For
me
sure.
trying to take off on an Atom 80. You got to run a long way. If you're, well, like me, I'm 257 pounds right now.
Yeah, but at
Well, I'll
3,500
tell you, I
feet,
was-
boot.
Oh, yeah.
I was
Okay.
going through some power lines, and I had to start circling in order to get above the power lines. I was very surprised by it. Very surprised.
Yeah, I think from my experience at 240 pounds is probably the max you want to be on an Atom 80 because the climb rate, even at sea level or just a couple hundred feet above sea level for me, not that great. So yeah, I understand what you're saying. But definitely, Jim, glad that you're here, buddy. If you want to get some really cool decals, which is decals for us, but decals for the Canadian peeps, go over and check out carepp.com. Want to see his shenanigans? carepp.com. Good to see you, Jim. We also got Will Fly from Will Fly PPG. What's up, big dog? You had a long trip too, huh, from Florida?
Yeah, man, just getting back today from Florida, Bowling Green. Hit the first annual Fly It for Gauge fly-in. Had a good time. I think they had a little over 50 pilots there. And you know what? I got to meet Tony and Angela Pruslick.
Excellent. They're cool.
Yeah,
They're
I
cool
got to hang out
peeps.
with those guys. And so usually they're in the chat, but I just had a good time, you know. Didn't fly a lot. Got cracked exhaust, that whole thing, you know, right there on the elbow.
You got the cracked
I got a
exhaust.
cracked exhaust. Yeah,
Oh
and
my God.
I did my dangest to, you know, try to wipe it off, and no, it wouldn't wipe off. So it was definitely a crack.
You know, Will, that's why I'm out of the air too. And
Cracked
that's why I had to
exhaust.
borrow that Atom 80, was because I got halfway to that fly-in, and I found a crack in my exhaust.
In the elbow.
Yep,
Well, maybe we could talk about that later in the show. That's something
sounds
that
good.
I got to.
Definitely. I still got mine from years ago when mine cracked because it looks like everybody's crack is the same design, same crack in the same area on.
Everybody has a crack in the same area.
Yeah, you caught that. Good deal. All right. So if you got, so have you posted any videos yet over on your channel?
The last video I posted was just the tip 9.0, and that was Bad Apples 2023. So yeah, check that out at willflyppg.com.
Excellent. Can't wait to see Fly It for Gauge when you get that up. Hopefully it will be this year.
Maybe.
All right. Thanks, Will. Appreciate you. We also got ParamoUSA.com, our very own Linda Anderson.
Welcome, welcome.
Woo!
Oh my
Love
God,
the
Will, I'm
bombs.
still cracking up. That was funny. I mean, that's a visual, but you know. Welcome everybody, Monday night. I'm glad like we're all back together again. It seemed like forever and ever and ever. And I would just want to say hi and give a shout out to Jade. Just hang in there, girl. I love you. Eric, stay strong for your little woman. She needs you. And I'm just very thankful. I got to do my second tandem Memorial weekend, and I had a blast. It was like so much fun getting up in the air. And then my son Ryan, he went up, and so did his girlfriend. So we all got to experience again together. And as you saw in the video, I was just like, oh my gosh, you guys, that adrenaline, the adrenaline the whole day, the rest of the, you know, did not stop the whole night. You could see me dance around and everything because I was just like so super stoked to get back up in the air and get my tandem and my tandem ride or whatever. And if you listeners, if you've never done it before, you got to do it just once. And either you're going to love it or you're going to hate it. That's how I look at it. And I loved it. So I got up in the air. I said hi to my daddy-o that passed away in May. And so I was up there saying hi to him over we were flying by Lake Michigan, and it was beautiful. So thank you everybody for joining us tonight. It's going to be a great show. It's not about me. it's about Robert. So I'm going to just sit back and enjoy. Was that good? What do you think? How did you do, Grandpa?
That was absolutely excellent. Absolutely excellent. If you want to be on their show or want more information, Lynn Anderson is the person to go to. Go over to paramomusa.com. It does forward over to her Facebook page. Say hi and say I want to be on the show. Want to be on her show because obviously it's not my show no more, which is all right.
Thanks. I
Now,
forgot
before
that
we
part
drill
about-
Robert, I wanted to ask the main question that everybody's going to ask. What motor do you fly on? What wing do you have? Do you prefer foot launch or do you even have a trike? And go.
That is true. But real quick before we get to
Okay.
Flying Flamingo Jade, if you haven't heard, she had a mishap. She is in the hospital. If you get the chance, go over to her Facebook page and say hi and wish her well. And obviously, we're wishing her well right now. Flying Flamingo Jade, we love you, girl. Get well soon, and hopefully, we'll find you in the air soon. Absolutely, Robert. What's up, my friend? The man that is living the dream. He is traveling all over the United States. He has gone to more fly-ins than I can even list on this paper that I have here. He lives in his van. He takes a shower once a year, but I tell you what, this guy is definitely living the dream. Everybody, bravo to Rob. What's up, buddy? Good to see you again.
Yeah, guys, thanks for having me on again. And the shower once a year. I mean, I shower more than once a year, but not that much more. So, people always say, "Hey, you're living the dream." That's awesome. And I always sort of say, like, it's my dream. It's not everyone's dream. For some people, it'd probably be a nightmare, especially not showering every day or knowing where you're gonna send your Amazon packages. So there's always every day is an unknown. Where am I gonna sleep? What's gonna happen? Who am I gonna meet? But I like the adventure of it. So I've been just continuing the whole van life thing and flying and van life is a perfect combination. So I'll just keep with it till I get bored. But I guess to start off with just some basics as far as like what I'm flying and that kind of thing. I've been flying for the last 3.5 years. I learned back in January of 2020 and I learned down in Cancun, Mexico. And I've been obsessed with flying ever since. But yeah, so when I'm flying right now, I'm on an 18-meter BGD Luna 2. I recently just got a 20-meter Luna 2 shipped to me last week. I'm going back up to the 20 just because I like the 18 because it's sporty, but it burns a lot of gas and the climb rate's not that good. So for some of the future trips I have planned, it's probably a little bit more important for me to get 2+ hours of flying and to have that faster climb rate than the dynamicness and the wing overs and the playfulness. I like it, but there's time and place for it. So I'm going to go back up to the 20-meter. As far as motor frame combo, I'm on a Parajet Maverick with the Moster 185. And for a little extra thrust, I have the 3-blade on there. But so that's my setup. And that's what I've been rocking. I've had the Parajet Maverick since I started. So it's been suiting me well.
That's excellent. Now, the last time that we've talked on here was episode 95, I think it was. I think that's what we looked back at. And you were ready to go to an SIV course. How did that work out? How did you enjoy that? And then what happened from there?
Yeah, so we left off at the SIV. So I survived the SIV. So that's a good thing, right? You never know when you go into that. I think you have to be prepared for the worst case because you're putting that glider into some crazy shapes or some crazy almost knots. But it was fun. Learned a lot from it. Glad I did it. And I think like anyone, you're a little bit nervous. You don't know what to expect going into something like that. I did an SIV down with Andy Fuller down in Florida, and it was awesome. It was great. We had a good time, good weather. And I went through the full motion, everything that he sort of, teaches people, especially for their first SIV, just going through the basics all the way up to just full stall. Okay, another full stall. Okay, another one. So it went well. I liked it. I think it was beneficial just to get rid of that unknown. Haven't done one since, but maybe I'll do a refresher at some point. There was my first full stall I did. I thought it went perfect. It was just beginner's luck, I think. And I was like, oh man, that was easy. That worked out great. Timing was good. And he's like, hey buddy, look great. Do another one. So I'm like, okay, I got this. This is easy. I do a second one. got rocked around. I wasn't paying attention to keep my body centered in the full stall, and I went into riser twist, and then chaos broke loose after what felt like a lifetime. And I thought about throwing my reserve ones. It sort of worked itself out. So I would love to say like, oh, dude, it was me. I did this, I did that, and undid the tangle. I just yanked and like sort of looked at stuff for a few minutes, and then the glider just sort of, untwisted, reopened, and saved my butt. But overall, the SIV was a great time. But yeah, since then it's been just.
Can I interrupt for a quick second about that?
Sure thing.
You did the stall, you got the riser twist, and it collapsed. Did it open first and then untwist?
Yeah. So I got to remember it now. But yeah, went into the stall. It was stalled. I went to hold it for a second, and it was about to go into backfly. And I think I let one side up faster than the other, and it sort of maybe when it opened, it sort of shot and then twisted, like sort of wanted like a heli on me. It did at least one full twist, maybe a twist and a half. And so it was open, and it was sort of starting to go like nose down, and I was rotating. So I remember like, oh, if I go nose down and rotate, throw that reserve. And it briefly went there, and then sort of went to back overhead, and some tugs on the brakes and some shifting of my body. I don't know if it did anything, but after a few seconds, that glider, because it was open, it sort of wanted to fly, and it just sort of shot me around in a 360. And I just checked the brakes a little bit and gave one of those sighs of relief, like, whew, okay, well, that was exciting. I'm up.
Cool, thank you.
Yeah.
So tell us about your van that you have I'm really curious because you travel the country to go flying. How many miles are on that van, and what kind of setup do you have?
Yeah, so it's a 2018 Ford Transit van. It's the high roof version. It's not the extended body, but it's just the regular, size length with the high roof. And the van was originally purchased because I did a lot of mountain biking. I still love mountain biking, but it's taking a back seat to the flying. But I built the van as a weekend warrior, mountain bike, travel up and down the East Coast and ride every weekend. And then as I got into flying, it just also worked out great, ironically, for paramotoring. So paramotor fit in the van perfect, and it's been a dedicated paramotor van. I still have the mountain bikes in there in case I get that itch to go ride. But yeah, I bought the van just slightly used, a year old, 13,000 miles on it. And right now I have 116,000. So, I've put a decent amount on it in the last, I've had it for, 4.5 years. And it's all fun miles. I never used it to commute to work or anything like that. So just strictly fun. But yeah, it's been treating me good. No issues with it. I've replaced, done the oil changes, replaced the brake pads, but nothing than that, just your regular stuff. With that being said, on the way back from Kansas to Pennsylvania, because I just returned to Pennsylvania a day and a half ago, the back end started making some funny noises, this grinding, screeching noises. So I know my brake pads need to be replaced, but it sounds more like maybe the wheel bearing went bad. I don't know. I just kept my headphones on and just kept pushing because I have some timelines I need to meet, and I didn't really have the time to get it checked out. So luckily the van did make it back. I'm hoping it's minor. I'm hoping it's something to do with the brake pads or maybe a wheel bearing. But other than that, that van's been awesome. People ask me all the time, hey, would you recommend the Ford Transit van? Yeah, I've had nothing but good luck with it.
I do the same thing. If I hear noises in my car, I just put in earbuds. It's like, it's not happening. It's not happening.
If you don't hear it, it doesn't exist.
That's awesome.
So I'll get that checked out in a few weeks. I'm going to be parking the van. This will be the longest I've ever parked the van, but I'm going to be, flying in another country. So that'll be future Rob's problem when I come back.
Now, as far as going overseas, you did go to where so far?
Yeah, so recently, from the last time we spoke, I was down in Mexico, Baja, Mexico, for the last roughly 5 months. And towards the tail end of that trip, I had an opportunity to head down to Colombia. And I didn't drive the van there. I flew there, and they had a motor for me. And I spent a few weeks down there flying, hanging out with some of the local pilots, and that was an awesome experience. So yeah, international wise, it's been Baja, Mexico, and Colombia so far.
And you plan on going other places too around the world?
Yes, sir. Yeah. So a week today, next Monday, I'll be on a plane. Actually, at this time or close to it, yeah, 8 p.m. My flight leaves, headed back to Iceland. So it was one of those places when I was there the first time. I was like, well, I just want to go. It'll probably be a once in a lifetime thing. And then once I was up there flying, I was like, this can't be a once in a lifetime thing. This is too good. I have to go back. So a week today, I'll be on a plane leaving out of Newark, direct flight to Iceland.
I am so incredibly jelly. It sounds like it's going to be absolutely incredible going over to Iceland. But I'm sure that a lot of people are wondering, it's like, how are you affording this? Do you have sponsors or something like that? Is GoPro saying, hey, use our GoPro, we'll sponsor this whole thing for you? What do you got going on, bud?
You know, I wish I could say, yeah, GoPro sponsors me. I think at this point, I've been using GoPro since they came out. You know what I mean? Since the original Hero GoPro, I've had it, and I've purchased every one up until the Hero 11. But I guess, yeah, to take a step back with this, last September, I've been working full time as an engineer for a decade. And, I was just I was in a point in my life where I was like, do I want to continue down this path? It was a comfortable job and all of that. But I just saw myself just getting complacent, not pushing myself professionally in my career. And, just maybe I wanted to change. But I knew I didn't really want to just jump right into another job. It just, life's short, and you don't need to work the whole entire time. So I sort of started making a plan to save some money and to leave my job. So that's what I did. I saved money and I left my job. So September 16th of last year, I just I would say I put in my 2-week notice, but I did not. I just left. I stopped showing up and hit the road. So what I've been calling this chapter of my life, it's the radical sabbatical. So every time I'm in a position where someone asks me to do something, I'm like, if it sounds rad, I'm like, I feel like that goes with the theme of what I'm doing. So I'm currently on my radical sabbatical since September. So I don't know how many months that is at this point. Maybe 8 months or so. And for how long it'll go, I guess, until it stops being fun or I run out of money, whatever comes first. But hopefully it's the run out of money part and not that it's no longer fun. So pretty much it's all self-funded. I mean, I do have some sponsors, so that does help things, but it's some free t-shirts, or something like that. It's not much. So it's pretty much all out of pocket. And I planned for it, so it's it was like the funds are there for it. But hopefully I've been trying to be smart with my money and spend it on what's important and not just spending on anything. And it's been going well, so hopefully I can continue this for I don't know 6 months, a year, 2 years. We'll see. Time will tell with that.
Hopefully forever. If you want to shout out your sponsors, you're more than welcome to shout out sponsors.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So right now, I fly for BGD. I've been flying for them for a few years. Skybeam, they make the chase cam. So if anyone has seen some of my pictures or videos, a lot of times it's, chase cam, with the GoPro. So they've been real generous, just to, keep me going. They call me a heavy user of their products. So just from using it almost every day, of course it's going to wear out and break and that kind of thing. So they've been, Martin at Skybeam has been awesome to just say, hey, make me a list. What do you want? What do you need? Give me an address. And he just keeps me going with that. I have a few others in the work right now, but it's not official yet. So I'm going to keep that quiet, and hopefully in the next possibly week or two or month or two, it'll all be official and contracts will be signed. So that'll also help me out as well. So I'm excited for that, but yeah, pretty much just self-funded and making the most of it.
It sounds like Red Bull.
I mean, that would be nice, wink, wink, it could be, but GoPro, Red Bull, GoPro, I'll take maybe a Ford sponsorship. They can send me a new Ford van. That'd be cool.
Yeah, there you go.
I mean, I'll take anything, you know what I mean? If it's a product I use, and I'll rock it. Send me some money.
That's excellent. Hey, Will Fly, is there any questions in the super chat?
Yeah, there are. Shane's Planet Shane is asking if Baja living is easier / cheaper than the States.
I would say, to answer that, yes, it is. But I mean, there are challenges. You know, Baja is pretty spaced out. It is pretty remote in certain areas. When you get into the cities, it's easy to find your common amenities for the most part. But when you're out at some of these LZs that we find, because we're just sort of, you know, we're just looking for them. We're on Google Maps, or we're just out there driving, and we're just looking for anything that looks cool and that can be flyable and launchable. It isn't as cheap as I think a lot of people pitch it, because you're still consuming a lot of gas, right? I'm putting gas in the van, I'm putting gas in the paramotor, and everything's in liters there. And so I don't know what it compares to per gallon, you know, like what it costs in the States, but it didn't seem like it was any cheaper. It seemed like every time I was filling up, I was spending $100 or $150 combined with the van and the paramotor gas. So for me, you know, I have that 18 meter. I do burn a lot of gas, and when I get up there, I fly until I'm out of gas. Like I get disappointed if I land with 5 liters in the tank. So I have the 17 liter Parajet gas tank. I would say 95% of the time, fill that thing up to 17 liters and take off. Yeah, I have the VP cans, 6 gallons each. So I'm always traveling around with about 18 gallons of paramotor gas before I need to go into town and refuel. But yeah, so it's not as cheap. Like, the food's a little bit cheaper, but it also depends on where you're buying it and, you know, where you're going. If you're just buying tacos from a street stand, yeah, of course it's cheap. If you're going to go into some of the, you know, you're going to go into Cabo, you're going to go into La Paz, and you're going to go to a sit down restaurant and eat every day, it's not really going to be much cheaper. But if you do it right, yeah, it's easier down there as far as finding the LZs, and it's cheaper. That's the one big thing I would say that is really nice, even compared to the States. You can argue that, you know, Utah, Arizona, it's almost as easy. It's just there's LZs everywhere. You know, the land is just open. There's a lot of it's not fenced off. So if you just see a nice flat area, you could park your vehicle there and take off, and almost no one ever gave me a problem with using any of the land. You know, for the most part, I think it was all just sort of unclaimed land, or even if it was private, no one ever came up to me and said, hey, you need to move your van, or you can't fly here. The locals were very, very nice. They were always actually pretty much excited to see the paramotors. You know, they have the Baja 1000 down there. The fishing villages, they're sort of used to noise and gasoline and horsepower sort of thing. So anytime we had someone like chase us in a vehicle, because a few times it got a little scary. We're like, wow, this person's like following us in this car. And then maybe after 15, 20 minutes, they have, you know, a cerveza out the window, and they're shaking the beer, and they want to see us land and come talk to us, you know, and ask us about the paramotors. So that was pretty cool. They went from being terrified that these people something's gonna happen to us, to like, oh, it's probably someone just chasing us because they want to see where we're gonna land to talk to us.
Well, that's interesting, because we also got another question in the super chat. Scuba Steve, can you read that last one that you did for Will Fly? Scuba Steve? All right. Well, he posted that he said, what has been Rob's scariest flight?
So my scariest flight, I mean, there have been a few not so pleasant flights down in Baja. I would say my scariest flight was actually in a really popular beach called Tecolote. It's a real popular beach where a lot of people camp there. There's a lot of van life meetups. And there's this other section of it called Balandra. It's really famous. A lot of people who have flown down there normally get a wing cam shot, and it's this like cove, and it's got really blue water, white sand, and it's got these like ripples in it. You guys might have seen a picture or two. I've posted a picture of it. But I was there with my buddy Lucas. So just to take a step back, all of this trip, I did it with my buddy Joe Orzi. Some of you guys might follow him on Instagram or Facebook. His handle is Skypacking. Post some really nice pictures. I mean, he's done a lot of drone work in the past, and now with the paramotor, he's been capturing a lot of really nice handheld pictures. So he's up there with a Sony camera and getting some real beautiful content. I mean, dozens of, you know, magazine cover worthy photos. But our buddy Lucas came down and he flew with us, and me and him were flying at this beach. It's around sunset, right? And those sunset flights, typically the air gets calmer. Well, we were educated after the fact that this area is known to have pirate wind. So I guess pirates back in the day would go into this cove to hide, and they knew in the evenings that the wind would push them out of this cove because you would just get these crazy off-land winds. And that's a thing there. So anyone who's flowing there, they sort of know, like, yeah, you sort of fly up till about an hour before sunset and you land, because the wind's going to shift. It's going to come from being off the water to off land, which is sort of, I guess I'm not used to that, right? I didn't think that would happen. So we'd go on a little cross-country flight. Conditions are so luckily we didn't go that far. And we're coming back, and you could see, like, we're sort of over the ocean now because we're trying to stay away from the land because we know something weird's going on. We're getting a lot of rotor off the land. So we're pretty far out over the ocean, a little farther than honestly we wanted to be. You know, like there wasn't a glide distance to get back to land, but it just seemed safer to do that, to risk that, than to be close to these massive mountains. And we're flying straight in at the beach. We have maybe, 1,000 feet or so flying left before we can hit land. And I just remember me and Lucas are like almost parked. Now I'm on my 18-meter Luna. He's on an 18-meter Piper. They're not slow gliders. They're not the fastest, but they could penetrate through a lot. And we're both there, and he's slightly in front of me. And I just see him, and all of a sudden he just goes up like 20, 30 feet. I mean, he just sort of like disappeared. It's like he just goes straight up. And I'm like, wow, what did he do that? Did he go full throttle? What's going on there? And then I hit that and I go straight up as well. So pretty much for that, at least 1,000 feet, we're just barely moving forward, and we're just like ping pong balls up there, dropping 20 feet, going up 50 feet. I mean, just all over the place. And I'm looking at him, since he's in front of me, I'm waiting for him to hit the worst, or like hit the gust first. And I'm just waiting to see him take a collapse. And neither one of our gliders actually took a collapse. However, they were just rocking all over the place. I could feel my wingtips doing that little, like, they want to collapse, but they're not, that little like tug on the brakes. And I just remember, like, we're making eye contact, and I'm like, are we going to die today? Like, this is crazy. And it wasn't just that it was like gusty. I mean, it was just coming over these massive mountains, 1,000, maybe close to 1,000 feet high. So it's just like, wow, this is some serious terrain that this wind's coming over. Who knows what kind of sink or rotor we're going to hit. So we battled that, which it felt like a lifetime. And luckily, it all worked out. We got back to land. We landed, and it was even a little bit of struggle to pack up the gliders. Like, you couldn't, I'm pulling on the D lines, trying to disable it, spinning out of the wind, and that glider's just rolling on itself, and you're by the ocean. So it's blowing you towards the ocean. So you're like, okay, I need to get this under control in the next 100 feet here, because if I don't, it's just going to blow me into the water. So that was one of those flights that was like, we were happy to be on the ground, and we definitely celebrated with a few margaritas after that one. It felt like we sort of cheated death. But that was sort of an outlier situation. There was a few other ones that were similar, but not near as bad, where we just got caught out, got into some rotor along some mountains, and just had to battle through it a little bit. But that I would say is my scariest flight. It was that one with Lucas. And we always talk about the pirate wind. That's our thing.
Really scary. And I've never heard the pirate wind before. I mean, I love this because every Monday night that we do this, I always learn something. I've never heard of pirate wind. So real quick, anybody out there in the super chat, have you ever heard of pirate wind before? Yes or no? Let me know in the super chat, because that's pretty insane.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's something unique to the area, right? So I think that was just what, the locals in that area on that beach, or, in that section of beach, sort of know that the wind's going to switch, at least there. Maybe it happens for multiple miles down the coastline, but it's just one of those things where, they're like, oh, that you got stuck in the pirate wind. When we were explaining to someone who's a local pilot there, they're like, oh, yep, the pirate wind got you. And so, yeah, that was news to me. But every time I went back there, I was like, not flying at sunset. I'll fly before, and I'll be on the ground before that sun gets close to the horizon.
Well, it's interesting because Bill H posted any bad stuff like getting stuck in the mud, but that sounds pretty scary. But I guess the van stuff, like getting stuck in the mud or just being stuck someplace, especially when you're out and about and you in a different country or just on the road, what kind of bad stuff other than, you plug your ears because you don't want to hear the noise from your wheels?
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, having the vans, right? I mean, that's a huge risk in itself, having them down there in Baja. The roads are narrow. I wrote down some numbers because I like to keep track of some stuff while I was on this trip. So the total amount of driving I did in Baja was 5,158 miles. So during those close to 5 months, over 5,000 miles I drove through Baja. I ended up, and now this is between Joe and I. This number's between the two of us. We had 12 tows. So pretty much they were self recoveries where I either towed him out or he towed me out. Normally I was towing him out just because his van wasn't as good in the sand as mine was. He has the Dodge ProMaster with like street tires, where I have the Ford Transit with like the knobbier BF Goodrich all-terrain tires. So, and I think my van's lighter, so it just was less prone to getting stuck. But I mean, that definitely was a stressful point for us. Was we're just finding random LZs on Google Maps and just driving. So we never really knew what we were getting ourselves into. Like, where is the road going to get bad? Can we turn around? So yeah, I mean, we got stuck, and the last time I got stuck, it took me 2 days to build a road to get the van out of there. I started getting a little bit confident. You start taking more and more risks with the vans, and it was this beautiful dry lake bed with these beautiful mountains around it, right on the ocean. I'm like, that's the spot. I mean, it just looked like the perfect paramotor desert camping spot. And I sent it into this, and I actually got stuck going downhill in the sand. I expected to get stuck coming out of this, and I got stuck going in. So I knew it was going to be a problem. So it took me 2 days to build a stone road to get my van out of there. But that's part of the adventure. But yeah, I mean, I think one of the good things, and I bought it last minute as well. I bought a few like recovery sort of items. So I bought your traction boards that you put down underneath the tires, like those the plastic traction boards. Invaluable. I use them so many times on myself, with Joe, with random friends that we met, helping them get unstuck. But yeah, so if anyone's going down to Baja, plastic recovery boards, a tow strap, that you can hook onto your vehicle and the other person's vehicle, and one of those really nice like military like trench shovels, like they're little tiny like foldable shovels. Those three things I used way more than I thought I would. So for under $100, I had all of those, and we used them all the time.
Wow, that is incredible. Before we get Will Fly to see if there's any more questions in the super chat, anybody on the panel have any questions for Rob? Because wow, your adventures are incredible.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Is that Transit, is that an all-wheel drive, or is it just the front-wheel drive?
So with the Transit, it's just rear-wheel drive. It's a 2018, so they did not make an all-wheel drive van at that time. They came out with an all-wheel drive in 2020. Okay. So if you at least you have the option of getting the all-wheel drive. Yeah. So my van, rear-wheel drive only, and then Joe's van, the Dodge, is front-wheel drive.
Okay, that's the one. Okay.
So I think we would have gotten stuck a lot less. I mean, I think it would have really at least cut those numbers in half, because sometimes we just got stuck slightly. We just need a little tug or just to dig just a little, and we were out. It was only a few times where we really buried the vans.
All right, pretty interesting. Will Fly, any questions in the super chat?
Actually, you got quite a few. So let's Sal Valdivia is saying that he's asking if sponsors reach out to you, or do you reach out to them? How does that process work usually?
Yeah, so in my case, with the sponsors I have now and the ones that hopefully I'll have shortly, they actually reached out to me, which was really nice. I've thought about reaching out to sponsors, but I sort of thought that, yeah, I don't know, I just feel better if they reach out to me. I feel like then like your name's out there, your content's out there, and obviously they're finding value in it. So it seems like a healthier relationship to have them come to you. But I don't think it hurts to pitch yourself, especially if you can prove that you can add value. That you like the brand, that you use the brand, and that it's right. It's a two-way street, right? It's not just that you get some free products or you get some money for trips and that kind of thing. I mean, you have to give them value, right? So when it comes down to it, they want to see you flying, right? They want to see you going to the fly-ins. They want to see you producing content on whatever your platform of choice is, whether that's on Instagram or that's on YouTube, or getting a little unique with it. So I'm not against reaching out to them, but I just sort of personally prefer not to. Because I just think it's a healthier sort of, I feel like, okay, like they see value in this. I don't feel as pressured, like, oh, I got to keep providing all this content because I asked them to give me a discount. I asked them to give me a free product.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Shane's Planet Shane is also wondering, are you also paragliding or are you strictly paramotoring?
So my main focus is definitely paramotoring, because that's what I learned on. I like it. It's a little bit more flexible, especially the places I go. But I love doing the paragliding as well. So mostly when I do paragliding, it's all ridge soaring kind of stuff. So, I took all my paragliding stuff down to Baja, and on one of the really windy days in the La Paz area, there was this nice little ridge, this sand ridge that was maybe 20, 30 feet tall. And it went for, maybe a few thousand feet. And I just played around and ridge soared that for like an hour. And then once the winds calmed down, I just sort of ditched all my gear by the van, grabbed the paramotor stuff, and went to fly for sunset. So I want to focus more on paragliding. I think it's, especially if, for me, number one priority is to fly, right? I love flying. I love having fun. I want to become better, right? Doing all the pictures and all the content, that kind of stuff, that's secondary. Of course, I love it. It's fun, but I think paragliding for especially for paramotor pilots, it's going to just make you better. It has to, right? You're going to be, if your kiting is not that good, paragliding is going to show you that, and you're going to become better. And you're just going to be more aware of wind conditions and just weather in general. And maybe it'll expand your flying windows too, because you're going to be flying a little more active air. You get a little bit more of a bump tolerance created. So for me, I want to focus more on paragliding in the future if I can. But yeah, up to this point, mostly just ridge soaring stuff, not too much thermaling. Even though I've been in it, I wouldn't consider myself that knowledgeable of it. Like where, oh yeah, I can find the core and I can go up thousands of feet. It's like, no, I just stumble into it, get lifted until I like fly out of it and keep going.
Back to you, Sean.
All right. Let's see. Sal also said, shout out to beautiful pics and great stories that Rob shares on a regular basis. And also Shane's Planet Shane says, I bet solar panels are handy dandy in Baja.
Yeah. What's your electrical setup?
Yeah, I mean, definitely the solar panels, are invaluable. It's great, right? So yeah, my whole van, runs off solar. So my solar setup, roughly, some people have really robust setups. Mine is just pretty basic, but it really gets the job done for my needs. I don't have a gaming computer in there, or, some things that really draw a lot of power, even like Starlink. And that's something to talk about as well. That's a game changer. But I have 300 watts of solar on my roof. And then I just have one single 100 amp hour lithium battery. And that runs everything in the van, as far as like my roof fan, wall fan, all of the lights, my diesel heater, like run the fan, run the pump, my refrigerator. And most importantly, it keeps that one wheel charged. The one wheel, I put a lot of miles on that in Baja as well. It's a great scouting vehicle. Me and Joe would always joke, we're like, if we can ride our one wheels to where we want the vans, we know that the vans won't get stuck, because if the one wheel sinks into the sand and you can't ride it any further, chances are the van is also going to do the same thing. So we found a correlation between the two there. And then, the 100 amp hours, it'll run I have a little inverter, so I could charge, my iPad or anything that I need the AC for, than DC current. So pretty basic setup. Most people maybe have 200 or 300 amp hours, but it's been getting the job done for me so far. Now, if I had something like Starlink where I need a bigger inverter and I'm running that, I might have to maybe double up my battery capacity and go to at least 200 amp hours. So I was lucky with traveling down there with Joe. He had Starlink, so he was my resource for internet, to get the Wi-Fi and that kind of thing. So one thing I chose to do on this trip, which I think in hindsight, it could have been a little bit risky, but it saved me money, was I didn't have a cell phone plan down there. So I never had any data. So if I wasn't connected to Starlink or on Wi-Fi at a restaurant or a coffee shop, I didn't have anything. I had no way to communicate with anyone. I wasn't receiving text messages, phone calls. I wasn't able to check Facebook and that kind of thing, which was sort of nice. You know, it was a little bit of like a detox from social media. Not that I use it a lot, but it definitely reduced the amount of time that I was just staring mindlessly at my phone.
Interesting. Scuba Steve, is there any other question in the super chat?
Bill H wants to know, well, I guess this is kind of probably for anybody, but have you ever, pardon me, have you ever flown anywhere where people have never seen like a paramotor before? Like, because Bill's saying that natives think they're aliens. So do you have to fly and then land and explain to them, oh, this is what this is? Or
yeah, so I mean, down in Baja, I mean, there's people that fly down there. There's some locals that I met. You know, there's some tours that take place down there, like Roombo expeditions or airwave tours. You know, they do tours. So there's paramotor pilots that fly down there. Now they sort of fly in like some, you know, obviously the beautiful areas, right? But they sort of have a little circuit that they do near the La Paz area. So if we're farther up north, you know, on the Sea of Cortez side, or we're over by the Pacific side on the West Coast, a lot of times they're probably seeing a paramotor for the first time. So like I was saying earlier, they normally they were excited for it. I mean, they're waving, they're cheering, you know, they're not necessarily scared of it. I mean, they think it's cool. Like I said, they love their, you know, off-road vehicles and all that. So it's just another form of noisy fun having that they're into. So some cool stories with that. I landed the one time on a beach. This family is up along this rock cliff right by the beach, real tight area. I mean, it was one of those where my glider was wider than the landing zone. So half my glider is almost over the water, and then it's really close to actually touching this rock cliff. And I land because they're all waving me over, and the wind allowed for it. I felt like it was safe-ish to do. But when I landed, they handed me a beer. So they handed me a beer in my throttle hand, of all hands too. So it was really hard to grab. And I grabbed the beer, squeeze the throttle, and I take off with the beer. And the cool thing is that my buddy Lucas also did the same thing. He landed behind me after I flew off, grabbed a beer. So we're both up there like holding these beers, like, yeah, this is awesome. We're getting free beer. And then we flew by our vans, you know, and dropped them by the vans for later. So those beers tasted better just because some random Mexican family, you know, handed them to us. And along those lines of like families being excited and giving us things, this didn't happen to me, but it happened to Lucas at another beach. He landed and the family ran up with a chicken wing and handed him a chicken wing. And he's in the sky eating a chicken wing. Like I fly next to him and he's like, I'm like, what is he doing? He's eating something. Like I had no clue what was going on. And of course we landed and he's like, yeah, dude, they just handed me some food. I'm up there eating. This is the coolest thing.
Yeah, in your face Tucker got with your McDonald's.
Yeah.
oh yeah, we fly to barbecues. What do you know?
Yeah, we're crashing some Mexican, you know, the Mexican family parties. You know, they're giving us some cool stuff. So definitely some cool, unique experiences, right? You don't expect that to happen. We had no locals complain while we were flying. Of course, you know, because you can get away with more down there doesn't mean that we did. Right? We try to be very respectful to, you know, flying over properties or lingering in areas for too long, or, you know, by campgrounds, or even sometimes maybe not flying that early because we knew there was someone close by that might get upset. So we never had any kind of issues with any of the locals, at least knowingly. No one ever approached us or showed any kind of visual signs that they were upset. But there were actually a few encounters with Americans that were down there vacationing that, you know, just they didn't like us flying by making noise. You know, whether they give you that like that hand signal, get out of here, or I actually ended up talking to one of them. It was just weird because they're just down there on vacation too. You know, they don't own any property.
So that's a question. Do you speak Spanish? I mean, obviously, do they all speak Spanish down there, or are you just like, I mean.
So, I mean, there is a mix of Spanish and English, and definitely Baja compared to like mainland Mexico. Baja, you're going to have a lot more of that Spanglish or English speaking Mexican culture. Honestly, I know very little Spanish. I thought I would learn more while I was down there for all these months, and I still don't know much. I definitely use Joe as a crutch. Joe has traveled the world. He spent a lot of time in South America and a lot of time previously in Baja. So his Spanish, when I hear him speak, I think he's a professional. He's an expert at Spanish. He doesn't know everything, but he was definitely able to communicate whatever we needed when we got into situations. If we were looking for gas or we were looking for a landmark or something like that, he was able to have conversations or just explain the sport to some families that were interested, whether it was little kids that came up or fishermen or whoever it may be. He was able to hold the conversation with them. And honestly, I was pretty jealous of that. He was able to connect on a deeper level than I was. So same thing happened to me in Colombia. There's a lot of times where I'm just pointing at stuff and it's this awkward stare at each other. So I want to learn it. I say that every time, and somehow I find a reason not to, an excuse not to, but it is beneficial. But I will say that was one of my biggest things about doing this trip to Baja. I mean, maybe we can even take a step back as how I even got there. But I was really worried about not knowing Spanish. After being down there for 5 months, I would say you can get by. It'll be a little bit intimidating that first week or two, because everything's different. And of course, you're going to get in situations where you can't communicate, but it is doable. I would go down there by myself at the current state of not knowing Spanish and feel fine now after being through it. But it is intimidating for someone who just doesn't know the area, has never been down there, doesn't speak Spanish. I know it's intimidating because I was at that point as well a few months ago.
So did you ever feel nervous down there due to, I don't know?
Yeah, I mean, right. I'll
Individuals?
fill in the blanks there, right? The cartel or any kind of, getting stuff stolen or the cops harassing you and that kind of thing. Of course, you go into it, being worried about all those things, and you always got to keep your guard up. I mean, there's always going to be bad people in any country, even our own country. So you don't want to make yourself too vulnerable. You don't want to leave all of your expensive stuff laying out or leave your car unlocked or be going into some questionable parts of the towns at night and that kind of thing. But overall, I would say, no, it was real chill, especially the farther south you go, the less you really feel worried about it. There's a lot of other people down there, vacationing like yourself, just hanging out, escaping the cold weather up north. A lot of people from Washington, Oregon, California, really all over the world, but it seems like a lot of them are from that area whenever you met some Americans. But we didn't really have any issues as far as like any kind of theft or any kind of like shakedowns. With that being said, we did sleep one night in Ensenada in the city on a main road in the van. So I have my van, Joe has his van, and he had his VP raised cans. They're on the outside of his van on the back door, and someone cut the lock and stole his gas cans. Now, to their defense, I'll defend them. His lock was pathetic. He needed a bigger, it was like you could have toenail clippers and cut through this thing, so it wasn't too secure. But he did have his gas can stolen, which was unfortunate. But that wasn't that big of a deal considering how many valuable things we had. We didn't have any issues with someone trying to open the van or smash a window or that kind of thing. Overall, it went really well. Now, I think it'll be a good closing thing to touch on. I did have an issue as I was crossing the border, which was a pretty crazy story, and it's unfortunate that it did happen because up until that point, like I said, smooth sailing. It was great. No more risky than traveling really anywhere else in the United States, in my opinion. But at the end, there was a pretty crazy police shakedown where I was in handcuffs. But we can get to that maybe at the end. We'll end with that one.
All right. I can't wait to hear that one. But John Allen Martin said, talk about the multi-day road building to get out. Now, that sounds like fun before we talk about how did you get out of handcuffs.
Yeah. Pretty much it was, I wanted to go to that dry lake bed and the sand didn't look that soft, but I should have known after all these months that, just because it doesn't look soft doesn't, it has a little hard crusty layer and then you sink in. So I go for it. I should have walked it. I should have sort of felt how hard the terrain was. Go at it, almost sink in instantly. So I got myself out of that, but I need to get back up out of that hill. So pretty much what I did was and when I say 2 days, it was, work for a half hour, take a 2-hour break, or work for an hour, take half a day break. But it took hours and hours and hours, and my body was sore for days after this. But pretty much a 2-lane each path for each tire, carrying anywhere between 20 and 30-pound rocks, and building this road. So luckily in that area, there was just all these flat rocks. But some of them I had to walk, 50 feet, 75 feet to the area where I wanted to place it. So just building a road. It was a good workout because I was like, well, I mean, I feel like I'm getting, paramotoring is not very physically active. So I was like, well, this is a nice workout. It was towards the end of my trip. So you're talking, this was early, I guess, late May. So, it's 90 something degrees out there. So, those guys know, they're from Arizona. You don't want to be out there in the middle of the day carrying rocks around, getting sunburned and all that kind of thing. But
paramotoring's not very physically active. You have a 17-liter tank that you fill to the top. That's pretty physical right there to run.
Well, it nil wind, but I mean, it's a quick 5-second burst, full sprint, and then hopefully you're in the air at that point.
Okay.
But yeah, I was really proud of that road, honestly. I mean, I took a few pictures, and there was a video that Joe took of me driving the van out over it. I just went at that thing, as fast as I felt comfortable, and just it felt like I just sort of skipped across it. So first go, made it out with my beautiful road, my cobblestone road. And I think what made it a little bit nerve-wracking for me is it was slightly uphill and it was a little bit off camber. And to the right-hand side, it was the softest sand, but also it really dropped off real quick right before you got onto this main road, because the road was sort of elevated above all the other terrain. So if I deviated from this road that I made, especially to the right, there was a chance that I would go it was at a weird angle where I could have rolled the van. I think it would have been rare, but it was definitely a possibility, especially because the sand was soft. So if the back wheel fell off at the last moment and sunk into that sand, it's so top heavy. I mean, I could have rolled it, or I would have just gotten really stuck, and I would have really had to find some locals and have them tow me out of there. But it all worked out surprisingly.
All right. Angela's Preslick just asked, do you do all your own photography? Because I've been looking at the super chat here. People are saying that your photography is hands down number one. John L. Martin said, hands down, the best cloud and sunset pic online from a paramotor. So do you do all your own photography, or do you hire somebody? I don't know.
Mm-hmm. I don't even do my own flying. I actually have a stuntman that does all of this. So I don't do the photography either. That's crazy, But no, actually, yeah, I do all of my own photography. Typically I'm using GoPros, right? That's sort of, I guess, what I would say I'm known for, right? Is using the GoPros, using the chase cam. I love that angle. So I'm using chase cam. I'm using I call it the wing cam, which is the magnetic mount on the top of the glider to get those, pictures straight down. 360 camera, and then a lot of iPhone photos. The iPhone 14 does a great job, so iPhone video, iPhone photos work pretty well. With that being said, on this trip, I was with Joe Orzi. Like I said, his Instagram handle is Skypacking. Definitely look him up if you're not following him. He took some amazing pictures of me. So we were on a mission to obviously document Baja more than anyone has, right? That was part of it. Wasn't like the main goal of the trip. Obviously, the main goal of the trip is just to explore, have fun, and have it be an epic adventure. But we both have a passion for photography and capturing it, and we wanted to do it. We wanted to do Baja justice. We wanted to make people to be like, wow, I didn't know Baja was this good. And I think we sort of achieved that. I think we captured some really beautiful pictures, and especially Joe. Like if some people have seen, like, flying over the gray whales or the humpback whales, Molbia rays, some dolphins, he did a great job capturing that, and the cool thing is that people would ask, like, when we get these shots, they're framed up nice, it just seems like it's all timed perfect. We're not on radio, there's no communication with radios between the two of us. It's all just sort of looking at each other, and as we're flying every day together, we sort of can read each other, or we sort of know what the other person's trying to achieve. And I think even from my standpoint, right, I mean, I like taking pictures as well. So I try to picture, where's Joe at, the angle he's at. Okay. The sun's over here. Joe's there. This is probably the best lighting. Let me get down lower to the subject. And if he can time it, like, I think it'll be a good shot. So we're both sort of trying to we're both trying to take the picture. We're also trying to figure out where that other person's going to be without communicating. So sometimes we nailed it. Obviously, sometimes we missed some epic shots because we just didn't coordinate it well enough. But I sort of like doing it that way. People are like, you guys need to be on radio. And I'm like, I sort of like the Wild West style of just being up there and just trying to get it. We both know what we're trying to get, a cool shot. We both know we want a whale, that we want a picture of this gray whale. So that's enough for me to like just try and get that shot.
Interesting. Real quick, shout out to Wade. He became a ClearProp TV VIP. He joined the channel. He's another new member. If you want to be a member of this channel, it definitely helps out. We're able to pay for all of our stuff that we do for the podcasting, and also a lot of stuff goes over to the Run Into the Sky nonprofit organization. So thank you very much, Wade, for joining and becoming a new member of this channel. We are already up to 8 o'clock already. I mean, just a couple minutes to 8. We've been talking for an hour. The time, my friend, has gone like that. It's been incredibly fast. Your stories are incredible, and I can't wait to hear the handcuff one here in a moment. But I wanted to ask anybody on the panel here, has anybody else have any other question, or is there any other question in the super chat that we missed?
There's a couple.
Okay.
A couple. Shane's Planet Shane asked a good question. He asked, is it common for wind to switch 180 degrees about an hour before sunset? It seems that it happens a lot at his favorite LZ. And the answer is it depends. I mean, I don't know where you live, Shane's Planet Shane, but I mean, do you live near a really big body of water? If so, then I would say that wouldn't be terribly uncommon. So I need some more information there. And then you had another one there. You want me to ask it?
Sure.
Does Rob or Joe take DSLR cameras up with them or for their photography? That was Bonnie Franz.
Yeah, so like I said, I focus on using the GoPros. However, Joe definitely has inspired me to, and I'm looking for different ways to switch up, taking pictures and capturing where we're flying. So I have been using a handheld Sony camera, like a full size mirrorless camera, with a zoom lens. And Joe focuses more on that. He's always up there with his Sony camera as well. And he actually sometimes flies, and this is a little bit crazy. He'll fly with different lenses. So like he'll have his big 300mm zoom lens, and he'll have his smaller wide angle lens. And depending on like where we're flying or what's going on, he'll actually go up there and he'll take the lenses off, change the lenses, put it in his little pouch, like his little flight deck that he has, and swap lenses. Now, I am not that, I don't know. It's a lot of risk, right? To drop, these lenses are expensive. These are, $1,000+ lenses. So I'd be afraid to drop it. It goes into the prop, a million things can go wrong when you're doing something like that. But yeah, Joe primarily flies. I mean, he'll have his GoPro on his helmet and he does some vlogging and that kind of thing. But he is definitely known for always having that Sony camera on him. And I'll take it up, but it'll be maybe every 4th or 5th flight, I'll take up the handheld camera just to do something different. And but with those kind of things, they're heavier, they're bigger, they're in the way. You have to start worrying about the harness and you're getting snagged on the harness, and it adds a level of complexity. So I would advise anyone, right? There's a lot of people that I've met along the way that are like, oh yeah, I want to have the chase cam, I want to have the wing cam, I want to have the camera like you mounted onto your chest. I have this like little chest mount where I clip the camera right onto my chest. And I'm like, that's fine, but you really want to be confident with your flying before you start adding these things, because it makes everything a little bit more difficult, and it can distract you, especially as you're trying to develop a system of how to use these cameras. And they're glitchy, right? Not so much the Sony cameras, but the GoPros, they're glitchy. So you can easily get distracted or frustrated trying to get this camera unfrozen or to clear off space because your card's full or whatever the case may be. So if you're going to use that, make sure that you're just very comfortable flying and ease into it. Don't go up there with 2 cameras and a cell phone. Just slowly add on to your kit and get very comfortable with it before you start adding more or bigger cameras. And always tether stuff too. I have my phone tethered, because my phone has fallen out of my pocket while flying before. Or like the big Sony camera, maybe you don't attach it all the way to my chest mount and it falls off, have a short tether where you're not going to lose this expensive camera, but it also isn't going to fall into your prop or something like that.
Absolutely. I see Linda without her glasses, so that means only one thing. It's time for a thumbnail picture. So if we're all ready to do a thumbnail picture, we'll fly. Let us know when we're ready, and we will give us thumbs up. This has been a really fun hour. I mean, this boom, just like that. Pretty much like my cruise. It just went boom. Here I am.
Boom. It was over.
Yeah, crazy.
All right.
What's
So
up
you
with
ready?
Jim? Jim has some maple syrup in his teeth or something. What's up with that, Jim? I got maple syrup.
All right. 1, 2, 3. Got it.
All right. Good deal. Well, if there's not any other questions from the super chat or from the panel, you got me with these handcuff things. I'm really waiting for that, but I want to make sure that everybody has their questions done in the super chat and the panel before we go to this last bit.
All right, last one. Do you do any midday flying?
If the conditions are right, yes. So like in Colombia, for whatever reason, because like I'm not a weather expert, obviously I've become a lot more educated on it by flying, but I still have a lot of room for growth in that area. But yeah, we did midday flying in Colombia, even inland too. It's just smooth for some reason. I don't know, maybe that's just what they're known for where we were. Maybe we just had a lucky day, but we went and we flew into this village that was 25 miles inland. It was like 2 p.m., 3, or it was like 1, I don't know, like 1 p.m., 2 p.m., like somewhere where you expect it to be pretty bumpy. And it wasn't the smoothest, but it was surprisingly smooth for the time of day with the sun out and you're just flying over these big flat green valleys. And that's a good one too, because we actually flew to a remote village to get gas because we wanted to top off on gas. And there were some little kids in this field, and I don't want to say we chased them, but we flew down low and they started running. And they were terrified for a second, and we didn't intentionally do it, but they didn't know what the paramotors were. We were aliens coming to attack them, right? I mean, they were like 10, 12 years old, and they were visibly scared. But we ended up landing at this village, and I didn't expect the turnout that was there. I mean, there was 100+ people. A lot of them were kids, but adults as well, and they just circled us, right? I mean, it was a mob scene. I mean, I sort of joke with this because I think it's fun. I feel like the Taylor Swift, the paramotor, right? Like I just entered somewhere and they just the crowd rushes you. And I was honestly overwhelmed. I was caught off guard. I was a little bit oh my God, I didn't know what to do. And of course I can't speak Spanish, right? So these kids are yelling stuff. They're asking me questions. I have no clue. Luckily I was with Moises, who is the local, who is, doing the tour down there in Colombia. And, he was talking to them and speaking Spanish. But the one kid, he's looking at me and he's saying stuff. And he's this little tiny, little shrimpy, little 8-year-old, 9-year-old kid. And he's looking at me and he's saying all this stuff. And Moises goes, he tells him in Spanish, he doesn't understand you. He doesn't speak your language. And the kid asked him, he goes, so he doesn't understand me? And he goes, no, he doesn't understand you. And he pointed at me and started laughing like I was an idiot. And all the other little kids started pointing and laughing at me because I didn't understand what they were saying. So I thought that was pretty funny. Man, they were like, I land. And they're like, haha, you're stupid. You can't speak our language.
If you're an alien coming down, you should speak our language.
Yeah. But that was really cool. I mean, it was the first time they've never seen a paramotor before. It was just this remote village. And they all stood around just sort of in awe of it. It was pretty cool. It caught me off guard there. I'm so used to landing sometimes. Maybe you have one person who's curious in the States, or everyone just looks at it and you're like, who's that guy? What is that thing he's flying? Looks like a death trap. They don't really, most people don't care, but they were just so amazed by it. It was like the excitement of the day for them. So that was really cool. It was definitely something that stood out to me, is wow, I'm somewhere remote, different, and they've never seen something like this. This is so unique and so special for them to see that. So that was really cool.
Bonnie France has a really interesting question. Will Fly, do you want to ask it?
Yeah, she says, how does anyone who runs cameras like GoPros get pictures or video while flying? Do you start it before you launch or what?
Yeah, so there's all different methods. This could be a show in itself, how to capture the picture, right? For me, it's a combination of all those, right? It's either I'm getting videos or I'm taking pictures. I try to focus on getting the highest quality picture. So typically I'm taking individual pictures. I'm not grabbing a screenshot off of a video because the quality is going to be worse. With that being said, if you're shooting in 4K or the 5.3K and you're taking a screenshot, it's going to be pretty good. But 9.9 out of 10 pictures that I post, I take just a single picture. So I have a little a shutter button. So I have a Bluetooth remote where I take the picture. So if it's a wing over picture where there's dunes and clouds below me, I'll do the wing over or the barrel roll. And while I'm in the middle of it, I'll be like, this is probably the good angle, and I'll click the picture. And that goes for even if I'm just flying in a straight line. It's just an individual picture. And I just I'm like, oh, well, this looks really cool. I try to figure out what the camera is going to see. So I'm always like, so when I'm flying, if I'm taking pictures, I'm pretending I'm the camera. And what is the camera going to see? Where is the sun? Is the lighting good? Where are the shadows? And those kind of things, because that makes a big difference. If you're flying, taking a picture into the sun, or the sun's at your back, the picture is going to look completely different. Or if it's on the side, like a side, I'll call it side sun, but if the sun's on the side of you. So it's a lot of things to take into account, but mostly it's individual pictures with the Bluetooth remote.
Before we get to the handcuffs, I see a necklace. Is that a paramotor necklace that I see?
Yeah. So actually, this is another cool story. I'll move in a little closer here. Where's the camera? So yeah, it's a little paraglider necklace, and I got this in Colombia. And it was from one of the pilots there, one of the local pilots. His name's Ruben. He goes by the nickname Fly, or Ruben Fly, and super awesome guy. Great energy, just an amazing person, someone that you want to hang out with, you want to fly with. And Ruben's been flying for 30 plus years. So he's been paragliding, paramotoring. Well, he's obviously started paragliding, got into paramotoring, and he gave me this necklace as a gift, just as like, hey, thanks for flying with me. Thanks for being down here. And I love this necklace. It is great. It's a beautiful necklace, but then it's also a memory. And I got it from someone who is an amazing person, right? So he is a very known person in Colombia in the flying community for paragliding. He, from what I understand, is almost like the first person to have a paramotor, or the first person to paraglide in the country. And he's taught all of the other schools, like they were his students at one point. So he teaches them, they go open their own school. So I believe his school is Paraglide Medellin. And yeah, he's one of the OG guys in Colombia. So awesome guy, great energy. So this is probably one of my favorite things actually from the trip, is getting this necklace.
That's cool.
Pretty excellent. Any other questions before we get to the handcuffed story? Because I'm really interested about that. Anybody else in the super chat? Anybody on the panel?
I believe the Ruben, he is the guy that Chris Wheeler was setting up a program with, right?
Yeah, no, because that's, I mean, I think I don't know if I've ever talked to Chris in person. I think I just know of him or seen him maybe at Endless Foot Drag. But yeah, I mean, his name came up a few times because they asked me if I knew him and stuff. And I know that he's doing some kind of, he's down there. He's involved in the community down there. He wasn't down there when I was there, but yeah. So that's the same Ruben that Chris knows. Cool. Great guy.
All right. Are we ready for the story of handcuffs?
Time.
All right.
Yeah.
It's all you, Rob. Tell us the handcuff story.
All right, guys. I think first though, I'm gonna keep you like hanging for a second. I just wanna, because there's so much about Baja. I feel like I didn't even do it justice, right? Yeah, but what I want to say to anyone who's interested in Baja, it's a great place to go. It's easier than you think. I mean, it is an adventure. There's going to be times where you're nervous, or times where you're going to get your vehicle stuck, or you're going to feel a little bit, maybe even scared, because you're just not used to the area or the culture. But it is a great place to go. So many beautiful spots. It's such diverse terrain. There's so much to fly there. I mean, I was there 5 months, and it's like, I can go back for a few more. I didn't do everything. I didn't see everything. Or I want to refly certain areas where the weather maybe wasn't perfect. So it's amazing. It's like flying in the Grand Canyon with an ocean, or flying in Utah, but there's an ocean right next to it. So you get these just beautiful mountains and canyons, and the water. There's shipwrecks that you're just stumbling upon that make it great. The marine life, depending on the time of year that you go, I mean, you might be flying with gray whales, humpback whales, orcas, mulbia rays jumping out of the water right next to you. I mean, there's just so much there depending on the time of year that you go. And it's probably almost good to fly all year round. So I was down there between January and June. It was great. Started getting warm towards June, but so many places to see there. So if anyone's thinking about doing it, I wouldn't write it off just because you can't speak Spanish. I mean, if you can learn a little bit of Spanish and go down there, that's great. But beautiful place. I'm so happy I did it. I'm so happy that Joe and I met at the St. George fly-in, and we're talking about it, and we made it happen together. I mean, it wouldn't have happened without him. Maybe it would have, because I was trying to like find people to go with me, and we met day one. We talked about it, and we committed to doing it. And a few months later, we were in Baja together. It was like a new friendship. We didn't know each other previously. So a shout out to him. I mean, he captured some of my favorite pictures, that I'll on my deathbed, I'll have those in the nursing home. Like, that's the picture Joe took. That was an awesome experience. So Baja is great. I would say that if you have the opportunity to do it, whether it's a self-guided tour or you go with one of the, there's people that guide down there. I might even do a little guiding in the future. I think it would be a fun time for you. And you can almost fly all day, getting back to that question before, if you're along the water and the wind's coming off the water, you don't have to be waking up at sunrise and flying at sunset. If you want to go have some lunch, have a burrito at 12 o'clock, fly at 1, you can do it. But yeah, so Baja, it's awesome. Do it if you can. But yeah, so leaving Baja, I did run into a little bit of a hiccup, right? So I ended up driving 16 hours straight from like La Paz all the way up to the border in Mexicali. And I didn't plan on doing that. It was just, you have a few energy drinks. And honestly, I think I was a little sad I was leaving. I just wanted to get out of there. I didn't want to stop and fly for a day or two. I just wanted to get out once I decided I was leaving. And I was crossing the border at night, which, also something maybe you shouldn't do. But I had such success that once again, you maybe push it a little bit more, oh, hey, don't drive at night. Oh, I'm driving at night. But I go to cross the border, and there's this thing called the Sentry Lane. Maybe some people are familiar with it. I was not. And the Sentry Lane is, I guess, like sort of like an easy pass lane or like a TSA pre-check. So I guess a TSA pre-check lane. So if you don't have this special pass, you shouldn't be in that lane. And I was in that lane. So there's a cop car. There's a guy with a vest on, and this guy pretty much jumps out in the middle of the road, and he's waving his arm, telling me to stop. And he goes, "Hey, do you have the Sentry Pass?" And I'm like, "What's the Sentry Pass? I don't have this. Like, what are you talking about?" He goes, "You need to turn around. You can't be in this lane." Now, at this time, for whatever reason, there's actually no cars behind me. So I look back and I'm like, there's no cars. And it's Mexico. I mean, like, honestly, people don't really follow the rules of the road down there. So I do like my 3-point turn. I follow this guy. I go down the road backwards a few hundred feet. I whip a U-turn. And now I'm on what I believe is the correct path. Once I bust this U-turn, whoop, whoop, whoop. You see the flashing lights, the sirens. I get pulled over, and I'm like, "Oh man, I wonder if that was a setup. I wonder if like they tricked me or something, or I'm just getting pulled over because I did drive down the road backwards. You shouldn't be doing that." And as this happens, the guy with the vest who was on this bicycle, and the bicycle, you would say, "Oh yeah, that sounds sketchy. Why would you believe a guy on a bicycle?" I mean, it's Mexico. I've seen weirder, So the guy pedals off. He just disappears. So now I'm left with these two cops. These two cops, they approach the window. Your typical, hey, registration, driver's license. They tell me, "Hey, you shouldn't be driving down that road backwards." I go, "Yep, okay, I screwed up. I was following the police officer." And they're like, "That guy wasn't a police officer." And I'm like, "Okay, well, he appeared to be. He tricked me because he had the vest on. There was a cop car right there with a cop in it. He let this all happen. So I'm sorry, I did it. So yeah." And they tell me, "Okay, we want to search the vehicle." Now, it's not uncommon for them to search your vehicle at checkpoints and stuff. Obviously, I don't have anything illegal, so I'm not worried about it. At this point, also, I did put the paramotor back under the bed in the case, so it's not displayed in the main living area of my van, which it typically is there, because I just didn't want to have any issues with it crossing the border. So they open the van, they're searching the van. The male officer is searching the van. He ends up telling the female officer to continue to search the van, and he's going to talk to me over by the police car. So he changes my attention from the search to going to the car. As we're walking to the car, he starts talking some random things to me, just like, it felt like he was just like distracting me, right? And as he's doing this, the female officer starts yelling stuff in Spanish. Obviously, it sounds concerning because it's loud and she's yelling it. And she finds this black item in my vehicle. This, like, you know, looks like half the width of a cell phone or something, but this black item. And I'm like, that doesn't even look like something of mine. And she hands it to the male officer. And now I'm really curious. What is this? Is this mine? I look at it and I'm like, that's not mine. What is that thing? And as I look at it for a few seconds, I go, that's a knife. And it was like a spring-loaded knife, right? So obviously they planted it in the vehicle. And he goes, oh, Robert, this is illegal. This is illegal. You can't have weapons. And I'm like, that's not mine. I've never seen that before. So now I know, like, obviously they're trying to get me for something, you know, they're trying to shake me down. And I had something similar happen last time I was in Mexico. I was pulled out of the car at gunpoint, crossing state lines at night, and I ended up getting out of it. And I was educated on that they really try to scare you to get money out of you. So I'm like, oh man, it's happening again. And now keep in mind, I've been driving for 16 hours. I'm very tired. I almost have no emotion about this because I'm just tired, you know? So maybe that was a good thing. I didn't get too wound up. But of course, like anyone, I was still nervous. You don't know what's going to happen next. And I'm like telling him, hey, this isn't my knife. And he goes, well, is there anyone else in the vehicle? I go, no, there's no one else in the vehicle. He goes, well, then it's your knife. And I'm like, oh, here we go. Right. So I'm like, it's not my knife. And he goes, well, do you have any other knives, kitchen knives? And I'm like, well, I mean, yeah, I live in my vehicle. I have some knives, you know, for cooking. And I go, I have cooking knives. He goes, show me. And I go, well, they're in this cabinet. I open the cabinet, but he goes, okay, grab it. And I'm like, at this point, I'm like, I'm not going to just grab this knife because they might arrest me for pulling a knife on an officer or something. I could tell they're doing shady stuff. So I tell him, I don't feel comfortable grabbing it. You can grab it. He goes, I don't see it. I'm like, it's on the left-hand side. I can see it. I'm like, it's right there. He's like, I don't see it. And I'm like, okay, I don't have a knife. There's no knives then. I was mistaken. And he goes, oh, I see it. And he grabs it. And he goes, this is illegal. He's like, you are going to jail. And I'm like, okay, I mean, that is my knife, right? I don't think it's illegal, but who knows? I'm not going to argue it at this point. So I'm like, okay. So he goes, it's going to be very expensive. This is thousands of dollars. We're impounding your vehicle. It's going to take 2 to 3 days to get you out of jail and, you know, and to get your vehicle back. And I'm like, okay. And he's like, but, you know, maybe we might be able to work something out. So now I know where they're going with this. So where was I at there? So, you know, they're like, okay, you're going to be arrested. And I'm like, okay, fine, arrest me. And they're like, but you can pay now. And I'm like, I don't have any money. I spent all my pesos because I'm leaving. I'm going back home. I'm not, you know, I spent everything. They did see my wallet earlier on in this, and they knew I had a few $100s, you know, US, you know, some like a few 20s and 50s and stuff just for emergencies. And so they knew I had money. They tell me, you're being arrested. So they tell me, you know, put your hands on the vehicle. I put my hands on the vehicle. And then they turn me around and they cuff my hands in front of me. So I'm like, wow, I've never been in handcuffs before. This is pretty intense. So they cuff me and they're like, you're going to jail. And then they're like, well, but if you have some money, we could work something out, you know, $500. And I'm like, I don't have $500. They're like, well, what do you have? And I'm like, I don't have $500. And I said, the money I do have, I need that when I go back to the United States to get home, or I can't get home. And they're like, okay, you're getting arrested. And they're like, he's like, follow her. You're arrested. I'm like, okay. So I follow her all the way to the cop car. Now my van is completely open. Passenger side doors open, driver, you know, the driver doors open, the sliding doors open. And there's people watching this, right? There's like a half dozen people, just Mexicans just standing there like, well, we'll see what's going to happen here. So now I'm afraid they're going to steal stuff out of the van. I mean, I have everything in there. All my camera gear, paramotors. I mean, my whole life essentially is in this van open on the side of the street at night in Mexico. And I'm like, I might lose some stuff in this moment here, but I'm like, I'm going to keep with this. I'm not backing down. And I'm like, okay, put me in the cop car. So I walk to the cop car. I sort of like quickly walk to the cop car. And I go to get in it, and the woman puts her hand out and she tells me to stop. And the guy, you know, says some things. I don't remember what he said. And then he comes up to me and he goes, Robert, come here, come here. He goes, I think you're a good guy. I don't even think that this knife is yours. He's like, but we know you did have one knife. Let's work something out. How much do you have? Open your wallet. And I'm like, I don't have anything. He goes, just open your wallet. And I go, I can't open my wallet. And he laughs at me. And he goes, why can't you open your wallet? And I'm like, because I'm in handcuffs, sir. I can't open my wallet. And I was hoping that he would take the handcuffs off, which he did. So he takes the handcuffs off of me and he goes, open your wallet. And then I go, I can't open my wallet. I need this money. I can't give you this money. So we go back and forth for a while. And then he goes, Robert, you're good. You can go. You can leave. So he had some of my papers. He gives me some of my paperwork back. And essentially they just he tells me as he's leaving, he goes, if you tell anyone that I let you go, I'm going to get in a lot of trouble for letting you go. You should be going to jail. So you just need to go. You just need to go and cross and not tell anyone, because if you do, I will arrest you. And obviously he was just worried about me maybe saying something to the border patrol and then maybe him getting in trouble. I did not say anything. I was just happy to get out of there, and I didn't want to create any more drama or paperwork for myself. So he ends up letting me go. So obviously at this moment, I'm like, wow, I can't believe this worked and I got out of it. I'm very flustered. Obviously, I'm very tired. And I try to go and cross the border, and my GPS recalculates because I actually went down a one-way road by accident. So I'm all like trying to get on the correct road. I find myself back in the Century Lane for a second round.
Oh, no.
You know what I mean? Like, yeah. So you're like, you know what I mean? Like, if I didn't learn from the first mistake, I drive myself right back into the situation. So at this point, I'm like, I feel like I'm in a tank. I'm running through this border. I am not backing up out of this road. And there's guys now doing the same thing, telling me to stop. And I'm like, I have a Century Pass. I'm going. And as I'm doing this, as guys are trying to do the same trick to me, there's other cars driving backwards out of there. And I'm looking at them like, good luck, buddy. You're going to get in the same situation I am. So it's obviously a common thing, or a pretty common at least. And I get up to the American portion of the border, and the guy tells me, hey, you're in the wrong lane. You shouldn't be in this lane. And he goes, you might be okay if it's your first time. However, you might have to pay a $5,000 fine. And I'm like, a $5,000 fine? I'm like at the time he said, I think he just said 5,000. The fine is 5,000. And I'm like, 5,000 pesos or 5,000 US dollars, you know? And I'm like, even if it's 5,000 pesos, that's way more than I want to pay for this fine. That's a lot of money. Right. And I get up to the second guy, and he's like, hey, you shouldn't be in this lane. And I'm like, oh yeah, I know. The guy told me it was okay. It's my first offense, that it'll be fine, just to let you know it's my first offense. And I mean, I don't know if that worked or not, but apparently that's a thing. After talking to people after the fact, since I've made this mistake once, they let me go. If I do this again, it's actually a $5,000 fine from the United States for being in the wrong lane. $5,000. I can't believe that. And it's not properly labeled. And Google Maps takes you into that lane. That's why I got there in the first place. I followed Google Maps blindly, and it told me to go into this lane.
Wow.
So it has to happen all the time. And if the United States really does fine you $5,000, especially if it's your first offense, that's a little bit. I mean, that's a lot of money. I mean, for anyone. I mean, at least now I know that I at least got out of it the first offense. So I obviously I'm not going to make that mistake the second time. But if I did, I'm still going to be bummed. So because I went into this wrong lane, I have to go into secondary search. So then they have me get out of the line, go into the secondary little holding parking lot. I have to open up the hood of the car, the back of the car, the side doors. I have to open up every door and sit there on the curb, wait for someone. And then they have the drug dogs in the vehicle. They're looking in the vehicle. They're just pointing at stuff. And I'm honestly a little bit worried now at this point, not because I have anything illegal in there. What happens if they planted something in the van just to get me in trouble? Because I thought I outsmarted them, but maybe they're just like, you know what? Throw a little bag of weed in there, throw a little bag of whatever in there, get this guy in trouble. I didn't know, they were in there. I wasn't watching them. Luckily that did not happen, and I got out of there, but it took an additional half hour for me to go through this secondary search. It was already a long night.
Are you on the Mexican side still?
During the secondary search, I am now on the United States side. Okay. But that was the same question I had when they're doing the secondary search, and the woman finally tells me I'm free to go. I look at her and I go, I know this is going to be a little bit of a stupid question, but am I in the United States now? Like, am I good? Am I out of Mexico? And she laughs at me like, you dummy. Yeah, you're out of Mexico. She's like, yeah, you're in California. Just drive out of this parking lot, make a left, and you'll be in Calexico. And I was like, I was so happy she said that. I go, thank you. And I just got in that van and drove. So, yep, that's how I ended my Baja trip. It was a magical time. It was a great time, great flying. I mean, I met some great people down there, other people in vans, other paramotor pilots. I mean, worth everything that I've sacrificed to get there. And then it had to end that way, right? So it still can happen. I mean, like, you still run the risk going down there of something happening, but the more you educate yourself, the better. It could have been preventable. People knew of that. I mean, that is a known scam. If you Googled, border crossings, which ones to avoid, or scams at the border crossings, from what I've been told, that's a common one. So I didn't do my homework on it, but like I said, you get a little bit complacent, you get a little confident. 5 months, nothing's happened. I'll be fine. I'm going into the United States. What can go wrong? Well, that's what went wrong. I ended up getting out of it. I didn't lose any money. I didn't get arrested. They didn't steal anything. It all worked out. And right, I always tell people, right, you're either going to have a good time or you're going to have a good story, but it's going to be good. And it was good.
You'll remember it one way or the other, right?
Exactly.
That's crazy. Well, okay, so but you attribute that to to trying to cross the border at night.
Well, I think maybe the scam happens more at night. It just always seems like stuff happens more at night. What caused all this is I was just in the wrong lane to begin with. If I didn't go into the wrong lane, I don't think I would have been scammed. But they know, I think, because Google Maps does take you that way, that they know that this happens all the time. So let's get these guys. Let's shake them down. Maybe they even somehow can get Google Maps to send you that way to do that exact thing. Because I don't understand why Google Maps would take you into a lane that is restricted. That there wouldn't be someone that can edit that and say, do not direct them into the Sentry lane. Like, that is not the way you go.
They're in on it, man.
I mean, maybe
they must be in on it.
They might be in on it. They're getting a little bit of a cut. This is a conspiracy here, but I mean, I guess, yeah, like, if I did my homework, I went in the right lane, this wouldn't have happened, but it did, and that's my story from screwing up. So do as much research as you can, don't always wing it. Winging it's fun. It's part of the adventure, but like I said, I shouldn't have been there at night. I should have done the research, and I shouldn't have just drove down the road backwards. It's just common sense. You wouldn't really do that in the United States, but in Mexico, there's a lot of, people don't really follow no one stops at stop signs, that kind of thing. You see weird stuff. So I didn't think anything of it after driving down there for so long.
Interesting. Very, very interesting. Well, Rob, I have had a blast listening to your story. For everyone out there, if you could let us know your social media links, where to go to find you. Are you on TikTok, Instagram? And if so, where are you?
Yeah, so pretty much it's just on Instagram. So it's my handle is con3081. So CON 3081. Some people give me a hard time about that not being a really easy handle to remember, but that is what it is for now. So yeah, I post a lot on Facebook. I try to I like keeping up with the stories and trying to post a daily sort of, life on the road sort of thing. So yeah, Instagram's the best spot, or on Facebook. I post on both regularly. It's sort of the same stuff. Sometimes Facebook's a little bit more of it's not that perfect picture. Maybe I'll post up 5 pictures just to tell sort of a story, do a little bit more of a write-up. So yeah, Facebook, it's just my name, Rob Condella, or Instagram, con3081. I don't do anything on YouTube. I have a YouTube channel, don't use it. There's no paramotor videos up on it. I don't think I ever will, just because I have a hard time managing taking the pictures and posting them on Instagram, let alone making videos. But you never know. Maybe I'll move on to that at some point, just for something new and different. But yep, that's it. Instagram and Facebook, if you want to follow along with the pictures and the adventures. There's more to come. Like I said, I'll be leaving in a week today to go to Iceland. I'll be up in Iceland for a month and a half. Then I'll be taking a little bit of a break for a month to spend some time with my family, hang out in Pennsylvania, fly in Pennsylvania. I love flying in PA, beautiful, the cornfields and stuff like that. And then I'll be headed off to Egypt for a month and a half as well to fly the pyramids and to fly some more remote parts of Egypt that aren't typically what people go there to fly, like on the pyramid tours. So that should be fun. That'll be different. Haven't been there before. And possibly a few other wildcard destinations at the end of the year, late November into December as well. So I'm trying to keep it going for as long as I can. And I really like the adventure side of paramotoring. I like, I like it for the sport. I like doing the acro and that kind of thing, but I just want to be a well-rounded pilot. And I really think that there's a lot of opportunity with this adventure travel just to see some beautiful places that rarely get flown or have never been flown before. So that's what's real exciting for me. And I'm hopefully going to be teaming up with some people in the future here to, to hopefully travel as much as I can, go to some new countries.
Well, I'm envious of you're going to Iceland next, right?
Yep.
So that means you're going to be flying the new prop, probably with the Scout and everything. So I'm pretty excited to hear about that.
Yeah. So if they have them on their rental units, so it's actually very interesting. The Scout thing has the Iceland trip has evolved a lot. And right now I am actually very overwhelmed. I have a week to get ready for Iceland and I have a lot to get ready. So I am going to be on the Scout trip. That's what I did last year. I'll be on Scout trip number 1. So I think they have 5 trips this year. I'll be on trip number 1. However, I'm going to be taking my own paramotor or attempting to take my own paramotor commercially. So that's an unknown depending on who you talk to and, all of that. There's obviously risks with that. I do have a motor rented with Miro just in case I can't get my paramotor there, but it will really screw up my plans because instead of flying for a month and a half and really exploring Iceland, essentially what I'm trying to do is explore Iceland like I did Baja. Obviously it'll be condensed, but I really want to I don't want to rush around. If I find a cool spot, I want to hang there for 2 or 3 days, or I want to wait for the good weather window, those kind of things. So I will be taking my Parajet Maverick up there. If it gets stuck at the airport, I at least can rent a paramotor for that week and a half or whatever it is, 10 days that the Scout trip is going. So yeah, I have the Scout trip, and then the trip after will be, sort of a self-guided adventure. I will be meeting a few friends up there. I believe at this point, Joe, who I did the Baja trip with, I think he has bought his plane ticket. It was sort of a last minute thing. He was not going to do it just because it didn't work out for him with the schedule, but that schedule has changed. So I think he bought his plane ticket. So he's in. And then my 2 other friends, Hillary and Lucas, they'll be meeting me up there as well. So they'll be up there at different dates. Some people I'll be flying with more than others just because they'll be showing up later. But we're trying to just sort of, have fun and explore Iceland, see what kind of fun places we can find and, some cool pictures that we can capture. So there's now all 4 of us are trying to fly with our own motors commercially to Iceland. So will all 4 of us make it there with our paramotors? That's to be determined. I mean, that's going to be a lot of luck on our part.
Wow, that sounds like an adventure in itself.
It really is. I mean, just the logistics of figuring out how I'm going to pack the motor and what suitcases and what I'm going to take. I mean, I'm overwhelmed. I'm buying all new cameras for this trip. So I got to figure out how to use the camera, set them up, get them all linked to my phone and to my iPad. And there's a lot to do in a week. So tomorrow I'm going to hit the ground running with really trying to get everything ready. And I have a lot of spare parts. That's the other thing too, is that we didn't touch on that, but I had a lot of spare parts with me in Baja, and I won't have as much in Iceland, but I'm taking a pretty substantial amount of spare parts. Everyone knows, an extra pool starter, an extra exhaust elbow, an extra airbox. I mean, those are invaluable, and they'll probably be used at some point.
Wow.
That's amazing. Yeah, this could easily be a 4-hour show.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, it's just your journeys are incredible, man. And you're not even done.
Yeah, I mean, I hope there's a lot more. I hope that, you guys are like, we need Rob back on. He did all these cool things. I hope that's the case. I hope it keeps going. I hope my it's a lot of hard work. I've been staying motivated. Obviously, sometimes you have your doubts or you get tired, and there's a lot to logistically plan, a lot of risks sometimes with like shipping the motor to Iceland. I mean, I have a lot of money tied up in it. So if I don't get the paramotor there, it's like, what do I do now? But that's part of what makes it fun to when you have a trip that goes smoothly and you can walk away from it healthy and you had a good time and you had good memories. I mean, it's fun to keep that going. So hopefully I can keep that going for the future months to come, maybe the future years to come. And and I think it's cool too. I think people are getting more into the adventure travel. So it's cool that I can also get people to go on these trips with me. More people are willing to say yes. And I think maybe it's because, hey, they're like, well, Rob did it before. Like, he must know what he's doing. Let's join him. So
Except
if you need a translator, a Spanish translator, or you need someone to drive you across the border, you might want to find someone else. If you want someone to fly with, you want someone to drink a margarita with and have a good time and fix your paramotor so we can go fly later that day. I might be your guy for that. So, it's been fun. I love meeting new people, especially the paramotor pilots. I have nothing but good things to say about the community and the people I've met along the way. We're all, I think most time we're all very different, but we share that common bond of flying and that passion and that we know the struggles of paramotoring, right? So you sort of bond over that. It's a brotherhood, and you swap parts and you help people to fix gear, get your van unstuck from the sand. So I'm hoping that more people will join me on some of these trips if they can, or it'll spark some interest in other people's just to go off and maybe doesn't have to be a big adventure like Baja or Iceland. Just go out and fill the car up, fill the truck up, and go for a little weekend adventure. Flying a new LZ every day, and spice it up a little bit, meet a few new people, reach out to some people. And, it's pretty powerful. If you just, there's been a lot of people that just have reached out to me and it's just like, I'm going to be there, meet up with them, let's fly. So sometimes it's as simple as just reaching out to the person.
Well, if I ever go, to Baja and I need a road built, I will definitely bring you with me.
I'm your guy.
Man, I can't imagine building a road to get out. That's crazy.
Freaking
Your stories
survival,
are,
man.
yeah, exactly. You need your own series on TV, apparently.
Yeah, there you go. Hey, I'd like to give a quick shout out. You mentioned parts and having extra parts and stuff, but if you need parts, man, you just cannot beat skysportsusa.net. You call them, you order the part, and boom, it's like shipped immediately. So I just want to give kudos to those guys because they're doing something right.
Oh yeah, and I'll back that up. They're my main guys for parts. In Baja, I've been on Zoom calls or Skype calls with them, just talking through like, hey, I need this, I need that, and especially when there's some issues, with the warranty claims with like the air boxes and stuff, or, I actually broke my first prop in Baja. It was just rocky terrain. I was leaning back real aggressively and my prop just caught the ground and just sheared off the tip. And I talked to them and said, hey guys, I need a custom made, E-prop, just one of my 3 blades broke. And they were always, quick to respond, quick to send the stuff to me. Chris and Kyle are great. I have actually, they had a box. I had a box show up the other day from Iceland, and it was from them, a big, huge box of parts. So they're great guys. They haven't let me down.
Right on.
100% agree. Matter of fact, I was just on the phone today with Chris. He's helping me out. And he also is going to be sending some fun stuff out for us to give away. So big shout out to Sky Sports USA. We're going to be able to give out away some really cool stuff from them also.
You know what, Sean? I don't think that guy takes a break. I was on the phone with them yesterday.
Yeah.
They take their business really seriously, and their customers and stuff. They really give good support. So
they really do. They really do. Matter of fact, we tag them every time that we do a show, Sky Sports USA. Not only are they on Facebook, but you can go to skysportusa.net and they will help you out. And if there's any warranty or whatever, they'll pick up the phone and say, hey, I see that you got a warranty issue. Let's make this happen. And they are good folks, really good folks. Chris and Kyle over at Sky Sports. Absolutely. 100% great. Anything else before we head on out? Rob, Had a blast, my friend. Absolutely had a blast. Can't wait to get you on next year because I want to hear about the Iceland trip, Egypt, and all the other adventures. My goodness, you are. I'm telling you, dude, very, very jelly, very, very jelly. I wish that was in your shoes. I wish I could. I mean, not the lack of shower thing, but man, I tell you what, all the stuff that you've been doing, that sounds absolutely amazing.
Hey, well, you have my number now, so just shoot me a text, a call, and we'll meet up.
Absolutely. We got this new school being built over our LZ over here in Arkansas, and you're more than welcome to come over. We're going to be making tiny houses, so anybody that wants to come over to our school, they'll have a free place to stay.
Awesome. I'll be there. I'll be there soon. I'm sure the van will be cruising by there at some point.
Yeah, we're going to have showers too.
Perfect. I'll need one.
All right.
There you
Well,
go.
Rob, we will let you go, my friend. We're just going to say goodbyes and stuff like that and do our little sign-offs things. So if you need to
Thank
go,
you,
you're more than
Robert.
welcome to go. We definitely appreciate you, bud.
All right. Awesome. Thanks,
Absolutely.
guys. It's been fun.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
man.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Rob. Man, absolutely amazing show tonight. Absolutely
Yep.
enjoyed it. Man, Rob's stories.
Us.
I'm going to have to play back this a couple of times because, man, he just kept on going and going and going, telling about all these amazing adventures. And seriously, I can't wait to next year when we get him back on the show again because Iceland, I mean, that's something I want to do. You know, Egypt, that's something I want to do. Colombia, I want to do that too. So
Just make it a tradition every June. Oh, geez, my kitty's
Yeah.
trying to push my computer on the floor. Yeah, every June we'll we'll have you on the show, Be like,
Get the update.
cool. Yeah.
What is
Well-
Rob doing this year?
You could have flown in the Bahamas if you didn't want your wife to cut you while you were down there.
I was thinking about that too, but they don't allow paramotors on cruise ships. But I was thinking about it. I sure was. So we'll have to do
You're
something
dreaming
down the
about it
Bahamas
every
eventually.
night.
Mhm.
Wish I could fly off the ship.
They have a roller coaster on the Mardi Gras. Oh, we're on the Mardi Gras, and they have a roller coaster on the Mardi Gras. A roller coaster on a cruise ship. Who would have
Did you
thought?
go on it? Did you do it?
You have to be in the queue for it, but I was on the queue when we had a thunderstorm and lightning storm coming through, so they canceled it, and I never went.
Oh, they're no
it,
fun, man. You could have
It's like lightning. There's no problem. If I'm going to be on a roller coaster in the middle of the ocean on a cruise ship, lightning, no problem.
Yeah. You could make a movie. They could have made a movie out of it, PPG Grandpa on the roller coaster in the middle of a thunderstorm. Look at him go.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, had a blast, Rob. I really did. You're absolutely incredible, dude.
Yeah, same here.
All right. Well, Scuba Steve, I guess we'll sign off with you, buddy. Scuba Steve, you do an awesome show on Fridays. Tell us a little bit about that and how do we get up with you, man?
Just go to paramotordude.com. That'll take you right over to my YouTube channel, which I did make another YouTube channel just for paramotoring, but oh my God, YouTube makes it impossible to copy your videos over from one channel to the other one and keep the same quality. So I'm going to have to wait until I get some more flights in to start putting stuff on that channel. Then I'll link that to the other channel so I can separate the vaping channel from the paramotor channel. Hopefully that'll be that way, all the tags and stuff aren't like half vaping and half paramotor.
Hey, maybe that's what got you all your extra subscribers and stuff is the paramotor stuff. So,
That's true. I did get some more subscribers, not some scrimers.
Some
Subscribers.
I got some more subscribers.
That's what we call them in the South.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's
So
funny.
paramotordude.com goes over to your YouTube channel and you do a vaping podcast on Fridays at, 8 p.m.?
8 to 10 Eastern Standard Time. Yep.
Excellent. Be there or be square, right?
That's
There you
it's
go.
Fun. It's a fun night
Excellent.
to hang out on Friday night with your scuba.
I know it's a good way to start off your weekend. I'll tell you.
I know. I love seeing you and Munchkin on. It's so much fun. It really is. Just
Thanks.
to see
Yeah.
everybody.
And we also got Will Fly from willflyppg.com, the guy that you want to search for just the tip, but close your eyes when half those search engines things pop up. How you doing, Will?
I'm doing all right, man. It was a great show. And I really appreciate Robert you spending the time with us, dude. That was highly entertaining.
Very entertaining. And you got what, justthetip.com, and you put out some amazing videos. And if you guys haven't done so already, but I'm sure that you have, check out willflyppg.com, search for Will Fly on YouTube, and his channel is amazing, highly hit videos, very entertaining, and very informative too.
Well, thank you. Working on Just the Tip 10.0 coming out here shortly.
Excellent. All right. We also have our Paramom from paramomusa.com, Linda Anderson. If you want to be on our show, I'm sorry, if you want to be on her show, get up with her. And she will hook you up with her very own show. I guess I'm just the co-host because she's the hostess with the mostest. You can go over to paramomusa.com, forwards over to your YouTube channel. But she also has a very famous son that does something on Thursday nights. What's that all about?
Thursday night, yes, paraglidingtalk.com with your host, Robert Michaels, who is my first son. Well, I have two sons. So he's my number one and my number two son. Yeah, just check out his show on Thursday nights. We always have some really cool guests, and it's a lot of fun. We learn a lot, a lot of the shows. Sometimes we just hang out and talk about safety and all that good stuff. And yeah, it's fun. And I just got to say, shout out to my chatters tonight. Thank you so much for hanging with us. I was super excited, all week about this, Monday Tonight show, because it seemed like it's been forever, and knowing Rob was going to be on our show and everything, I was super stoked and all that stuff. So like I said, thank you again, and everybody, please be safe out there when you're flying and everything, and enjoy your week. And I'll be following all the shows like I do, and I love my para family. I love y'all. And like I said, I got to have my second tandem with Eric Lear and Northern Lights Paramotor LLC. And it was something that, every time I go, when I went up, it was just a different experience. And I encourage everybody, to try it. Just try it once. So change your life, because it changed mine. So that's all I have to say. So thank you. And thank you, Robert, for being on our show tonight.
Absolutely. And the thing is too, if you haven't flown yet, and once you take a tandem up with an instructor, or you go up for your first solo,
yes, I forgot to say trike tandem.
You
yes.
are hooked. You are hooked, and this is all you want to do for the rest of your life. Look at Rob. All he wants to do is to fly in all the different places around the United States and the world. Man, I tell you, some people live the dream, and Rob definitely is living the dream.
Yep.
We also got our official sponsor, Jim from Canada, the guy that has maple syrup smelling money. The people that says, hey, Sean, that maple syrup guy, what's his name? Well, it's Jim from Canada. He blew a lot of smoke this last week down to America, but that's okay. He has decals for us. Tell us a little bit about your carepp.com and what you can do.
Sure, I can print pretty much anything that you'd like printed. I can do stickers or decals or decals, whichever you want. And something that I do a lot of that I don't mention too often is NCR documents. These are carbonless forms for truckers and for service industry, where people are going to households and delivering things or writing invoices, all that sort of stuff. So I can do those types of things up for you. And we excel at the designs for people on those too. We've got standard designs for pretty much any industry.
That's really cool. One of the things I didn't even think about that, but we have these maintenance logs that we use for our wings, our paramotors, everything that we use. We keep track of hours used by students, who uses it, gas. I mean, pretty much everything on these maintenance sheets. So if you can do the carbonless, I could send you one of these sheets PDF. You can make me carbonless so I can keep a copy in one place and a copy in another place too. Is that correct?
That's exactly correct.
That is so freaking awesome. I love that. So if you want to get some really cool things done with our very own maple syrup smelling money guy, you can check out carepp.com. Watch his crazy shenanigans over at careppg.com. My name is Sean Symons over here at Clear Prop TV. You can always find us online everywhere. If you just want to listen to our show, just search for PPG Grandpa's Paramotor Podcast. Want to see my crazy shenanigans? Check out ppggrandpa.com or iflyparamotors.com. Want to learn how to fly? Go over to paramotorarkansas.com. We are having a state-of-the-art building and school built. We also have a nonprofit organization called runintothesky.org, where we're helping disabled people and disabled vets learn to fly and also get adaptive flying machines called paramotors. That if you have lost something on your body because you're a disabled veteran, we can actually design custom paramotors for you so you can learn to fly and fly with anytime that you want to. Anybody else have any questions in the super chat that we may have missed? Anybody have anything that you want to say or state before we sign off for this week on the panel? Chirp, chirp.
Yeah, y'all make sure y'all watch the Paramotor Hangout tomorrow with Will and Shane because it'll be their last show.
Oh yeah, that's right.
What?
Yep, tomorrow night's our last show. Tuesday night hangout, our Paramotor Hangout. We're going to talk about the fly for gauge fly-in and go from there.
So no more podcast for you guys?
Nope. Tomorrow's the last night.
What? This is the first I've heard of it. Why? It just too much going on, or?
Yeah, I think Shane needs some extra time with the family, and it's a natural course of a podcast. They come, they go, they come back, they go away. That's just kind of par for the course. So
Gotcha. Well, that's sad to hear. I'm so sad about that. But you guys are always more than welcome to jump on here and play with us on Monday nights. So I will be there tomorrow at ppgshane.com to watch the last of Paramotor Hangouts.
there you go.
It's sad.
the season end.
Oh, I know, that's awful. Well, once again, Rob,
Finale.
thank you so much, buddy. It's been an absolute blast. I cannot wait to watch the rest of your adventures and see you back next year. I guess June is the time to come back every year, huh?
Sounds good. Yeah, we'll have to make it maybe like a longer 2 hour. I feel like hopefully there's a lot of stuff to talk about, so we'll have to make it like a double length episode.
Well, we're already at 2 hours, and I don't think it'd be very difficult to go 4 or 5.
On that note, I gotta go to bed, and I'm
Yeah, it's past my bedtime. I'm on the paramotor schedule. I go to sleep an hour ago. So
Yeah. We do a lot of sun up to sundown 7 days a week over at Paramotor Arkansas. So I'm gonna not get as much sleep as I should. So anyways, thank you very much, everybody. Love y'all. Take care, fly safe, and we'll see you tomorrow at ppgshane.com. And then of course on Thursdays over at paraglidingtalk.com, and Scuba Steve's on Friday, paramotordude.com. Y'all have a great day, and don't forget to have a great time flying, and we'll see you next week. Peace out, y'all. And if you guys want to stay here, we'll talk a little bit after we stop the live stream. So peace. Poop. Did I just say poop? Boop. Boop, boop, boop. Well, it was interesting. You said something about your sons. You got number 1 son and number 2 son on the drive back from Florida over here. We saw the Buc-ee's, right? There's Buc-ee's everywhere, and their billboard said, "There's 2 reasons to stop at Buc-ee's: number 1 and number 2."
That's what I was
That
thinking
was
too.
hilarious. All right. We're out of here.